Welcome back to our dissection. Time for more perch anatomy and more perch ichthyology. So far, our dissection has just been looking at the external parts of the perch. Today, we're going to start transitioning a little bit, and we're going to start looking at some of the internal or inside parts, sort of. The first part we're going to look at is something that all fish have, but no human does. What do you think that could be? Here's a hint. The part I'm talking about takes oxygen out of the water, transfers it into the blood of the perch so the fish can stay alive. At the same time, it also gets rid of the carbon dioxide out of the fish's blood. It really kind of works like a never-ending exchange with oxygen going into the fish's body, carbon dioxide coming out of the fish's body. Did you figure it out yet? The part we're going to look at today is called a gill. And humans, of course, don't have gills. Instead, we have lungs, but our lungs do exactly the same things for us that the gills do for a fish. They let the oxygen come into our body, and they let the carbon dioxide out of our body. So whether it's a gill or a lung, both of those are very delicate. To protect the delicate lungs inside of us, we have bones called ribs that surround our lungs, kind of like a cage. Perch or fish usually have a hard, bony covering. Their gills are down here underneath. They have this hard, bony flap called the operculum. Think of that word, the operculum, that protects their delicate gills, and they're found underneath that operculum. Do the same thing. It's hard, it's bony, protects those gills underneath. To get to the gills, for us to take out a gill and find the parts, we have to get rid of this operculum. So I'm going to use a tweezers and a scissors. I'm going to hold that up, and I'm going to cut my way. You can kind of hear that sort of crunching as we go, because what's an operculum made of? It's made of bone, right? So we'll cut our way through that operculum, get rid of it, and expose the gills underneath. And when we do that, you're going to see the gills are down there, and they're red, and these have been washed a little bit, so they're kind of pink. Why do you think they'd be red? What could possibly be inside of a gill that would make them red? The answer to that, of course, is blood. Blood flows through the gills, picks up the oxygen dissolved in the water, and carries it out into the body of the fish. So the parts of the gills, when we actually look at them, you can see there's 4 gills in here. We have to take a gill out. We're going to do that quickly, and then we'll try and identify some of those parts. So if I hold just one gill with my tweezers, cut it down here, cut the other end, I've got this gill out. We're going to take the gill, clean it off, and make sure that we can find the 3 most important parts that actually make up the gill of the fish. So if we look at them, the way this gill was arranged in the fish, these short little spiky teeth were facing towards the front. They kind of look like the teeth on a rake, like you might rake your grass with. And they actually have a good name for that. We call them gill rakes. And the gill rakes are there to keep things that are in the water from getting in and damaging the rest of the gills, or kind of to clog them up. In the center of the gill, there's this short little piece that's kind of shaped like an arch where everything is attached to. That one has a good name too. It's called a gill arch. Finally, some things that make sense. And if you look at the rest of the gill, a lot of people think, wow, that looks sort of like an eyelash. There are all these little tubes that stick out off the back of the gill that would be red. They're fibery things, so we call them gill fibers, and they are full of blood, and that's where the oxygen that's dissolved in the water transfers into the fish's blood, and the carbon dioxide comes out of the fish's blood. So they kind of look like an eyelash. We call them gill fibers, a gill arch in the middle, and gill rakes on the front. And of course, covering up that whole thing, that bony flap that we cut off is called the operculum. So those are the 4 parts of the gill. That's all we have time for today. Next time we're going to learn how the fish's eyes work. So see you then.